Today is Friday, March 14th. And today I'm just wondering, and I'll bet you are too, about exactly what the Dallas Cowboys are doing in free agency.
And now, a word from our title sponsor.
Eyeing retirement? Let us show you how to turn your nest egg into a paycheck with half the amount you've been led to believe. Fluent Financial combines in-house portfolio design and risk management with income-generating investments designed to accelerate your financial independence. Let us develop an effective portfolio strategy that works for you so you can retire sooner and have a better lifestyle. Fluent Financial can also implement a program that allows business owners to install a cash balance plan, which is designed to help drastically reduce income tax payments. You've worked hard to become successful. Let us develop an effective portfolio strategy that works for you. Learn more today about Fluent Financial. Retire sooner, better lifestyle. For more information or to schedule a meeting, visit fluentfinancial.com or call 972-852-4800.
Last year, the Dallas Cowboys fell to a shocking 7-10. As they say, you are what you are, and the Cowboys were a 7-win team. The offensive line, the defensive line especially, had troubles. There was injury to every group in the defense. The line, the linebackers, the defensive backs, and of course, the injury to Dak Prescott. They didn't use free agency much at all last year to fortify their team, and it really showed. And a draft can only do so much. And quite honestly, we'll get to this again a little later, the first pick in that draft, Tyler Guyton, did not turn out to be much of a player. So, 7-10, Philadelphia blew by them in the NFC East. So did Washington. And the approach this offseason is one of a team with holes. Lots and lots and lots of holes. But Jerry, last week, didn't see free agency as a way to fill voids. That's what he said. But that appears to be exactly what Dallas is trying to do in free agency, to fill some holes. This year the Cowboys have money. But are they using it? How are they using it? Let's do a deep dive into exactly what's happened in this first 4 days of free agency in the NFL. First, about the holes. Dallas did try to spend some big money. They took a run at San Francisco linebacker Dre Greenlaw, who'd have been fantastic here. But he chose to go to Denver instead. San Francisco edge rusher Leonard Floyd, the veteran, was available. Would have helped the pass rush here, but he chose to go to Atlanta. The really perfect one was young cornerback Brandon Stevens from Baltimore. He was a third-round draft choice of the Ravens. He went to SMU. He's from Plano. But he chose a 3-year contract with the Jets. That's right, the Jets. And they all would have been big additions, but they're all gone. So Dallas pivoted. They pivoted to go for depth. But before we go to what they went for, we will look at what they lost. Right guard Zach Martin was going to retire, and he's gone, leaving a hole that hasn't existed in right guard for more than 10 years. Defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence, a staple of this club, drafted the same year as Zach Martin. They were the 1 and 2 picks in the 2014 draft. Last year, though, Dallas reworked his contract so that he could leave after this year, which he did, signing a 3-year, big money deal with Seattle. By the way, he went to Seattle following the man who coached him last year with the Dallas Cowboys in the defensive line. But the Cowboys were never going to pay that big money to keep DeMarcus Lawrence. We can also talk about that sometime. But they've just got so much big money to pay out there that trying to keep Lawrence at 32 at big money was not going to work. But also gone so far. Cornerback Jordan Lewis, really good player, left for 3 years and $30 million to Jacksonville. That was apparently too much for the Cowboys to pay. The defensive end and tackle, Chauncey Golston, really valuable player, stepped in and filled in wonderfully last year with the injuries. He goes to the Giants for 3 years at $6.5 million a year. That was apparently too much for the Cowboys. Chuma Edoga, really versatile, plays guard, plays tackle, started 10 games in relief of injured players over the last 2 years. They didn't keep him. He goes to Jacksonville for $3.5 million a year. And running back Rico Dowdle, who came on to be a terrific player last year, more than a 1,000-yard rusher, even with the shaky offensive line, he cost Carolina just 1 year and $6.5 million to sign. With these players gone, they leave more holes. So, how's Dallas trying to fill these holes? Well, to replace Lewis at cornerback, they traded for Bills corner Kaiir Elam. He's been 3 years with the Bills. He was a late first-round draft choice, and the Bills have already given up on him. To replace Edoga, they signed Robert Jones from New Orleans. He will compete at right guard. He's not as versatile as Edoga. He's a guard, and he'll compete with Brock Hoffman for that starting job. To replace Golston, they signed Peyton Turner, who was a number 1 draft choice in New Orleans 4 years ago. But he's had so many injuries. He's never been a starter with New Orleans. And when he was playing, he had huge disappointment ratings. And to replace Dowdle, running back Javonte Williams from Denver. He was a former number 2 choice of the Broncos. Last year he was their lead back, but he averaged only 3.7 yards a carry. Now, he can catch the ball coming out of the backfield, but 3.7 yards a carry. The player he shared the running back position with, Jaleel McLaughlin, averaged 4.4 yards per carry behind the Denver offensive line. I'm sorry, but none of these replacements, to me, are as good as the player they're replacing. But Dallas did also add veteran defensive tackle Solomon Thomas, terrific guy. 2 years for $8 million to leave the Jets and play behind Osa Odigizua, giving the recently re-signed Odigizua some relief because he played loads of plays last year. Crest Volvo has more than 200 brand new Volvos available, and inventory is arriving daily, including the XC40, XC60, and XC90. Drive into the world of Scandinavian luxury with the 2025 0.5 Volvo XC90. This just isn't refreshment, it's refinement. Volvo fine-tuned the hybrid system for even greater efficiency, improved fuel economy, and an extended pure electric driving range. Perfect for city commutes or weekend getaways. Make a visit to Crest Volvo Cars to test drive one today. Off Highway 121 on the tollway in Frisco, or online at CrestVolvoCars.com. Live your Crest life. For more than 3 decades, Bob's Steak and Chop House has remained an icon of DFW restaurants. Why? Well, maybe it's because of
Bob. He's fanatical about cleanliness and friendliness, and his food, oh my Lord, his food. If you've been there, you know about it. If you haven't been there, you should know about it. The original Bob welcomes you at either of his two locations, Bob's on Lemon Avenue or the sparkling new Bob's at Craig Ranch, McKinney.
Maybe the best of their signings is a linebacker, Jack Sandberg. He rejoins the new Cowboys defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus, here. He played for him in Chicago. He plays all the linebacker positions, and he's really good on special teams. And the Cowboys also trade for Kenneth Murray, a former number 1 draft choice 5 years ago, out of Oklahoma. His career, a major disappointment. So let's get this straight. The Cowboys lost Lewis, Golston, Adoga, and Dowdle. I figured their salaries. They'll make $26.5 million next year. The players the Cowboys signed and traded for, they'll make close to $28 million next year. I'm sorry, but that's a terrible use of money. But let's go on. It appears Dallas is establishing a pattern of trying to rehabilitate former very high draft choices who didn't live up at all to their draft position. A couple of years ago, Cowboys gave up a 4th-round draft choice to add backup quarterback Trey Lance, a former number 1 draft choice in San Francisco. We hardly saw Trey Lance, and now he's gone. Last year, the Cowboys, in need of a number 2 receiver, gave a 4th-round draft choice to Carolina for Jonathan Mingo, who'd been a 2nd-round pick of Carolina. You know what? The Cowboys are still looking for a number 2 wide receiver, and that does not say good things about that trade. Now, they're trying to reinvigorate the careers of former number 1 picks Elam, Turner, and Murray, who were all clearly disappointments to the teams who drafted them. And so was the running back Williams, who was not good in Denver. By the way, one other thing. Of the 7 Cowboy free agent signings so far, only Thomas has a 2-year contract. The other 6 have 1-year contracts, meaning they can be gone after this year, or if they play well, the Cowboys are going to have to pay to keep them. Here's my bottom line on this, at this very moment. The Cowboys right now are not as good a team as that 7-10 bunch that ended last season. Leadership, though Thomas will bring some, Lawrence and Martin and Lewis are all gone from the locker room. That leaves leadership holes. And remember now, the Cowboys made a couple of trades, so they gave away some late draft capital to get a couple of these players. This puts an enormous pressure on this draft to hit huge. But the last 2 Cowboy drafts, the number 1 picks, Mazi Smith and Tyler Guyton, the defensive tackle and the offensive tackle, clearly underwhelming players at this point. Right now, Dallas absolutely cannot stand any more underwhelming high draft choices. Now, maybe in free agency, they still add a couple more players. Veteran wide receiver Cooper Kupp, cut by the Rams, would look pretty good, but there's going to be some competition to sign him. But looking at it from every angle so far for me, this free agency period for the Cowboys has been a stunning failure.
Today's episode brought to you by Fluent Financial, Retire Sooner, Better Lifestyle. And by Crest Cars. There's good, there's better, and then there's Crest. And by Bob's Steak and Chop House.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Just Wondering with Norm Hitzges. If you enjoyed what you heard, please hit follow, and a fresh new episode will be delivered to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you know someone who might enjoy our work, please share it with them. I'm Norm Hitzges, and I'm always just wondering about something.
And I'm Mary Hitzges, and I'm just wondering